love being a multi-passionate creative. It feels a bit like a superpower, but it can also leave you feeling chaotic and all over the place. We often have an abundance of ideas, but don't actually execute them. I know the feeling all too well, but I want to live in a world where creative people are thriving, not just surviving. So I wanted to share the system that helped me get unstuck and finally execute my creative ideas and accomplish the goals I set. This is the 12-week year creative edition.
Hey y'all, I'm Morgan Simone. I'm a DIY creator. I do everything from building my own furniture, accent walls, basically anything I can dream up that I want for a fraction of the designer price tag. I'm also an actress, and I have a really big dream of one day being able to create my own sets. Kind of working on that part so far, and then creating films that can be shot in the sets that I've created. It's a very big dream and it kind of freaks me out, honestly. So the 12-week year system has really helped me cull it down so it doesn't feel so overwhelming, and it helps me break it into bite-sized bits so that I can actually make progress without feeling like I'm never gonna reach the goal. And I figured, as a multi-passionate creator who sometimes can feel all over the place, there's probably other creators who feel the same way, and I wanted to share some of the ways that got me unstuck and the system that has helped me stay on track when sometimes I get a little distracted. But before we get into that, let me know in the comments, where y'all at with your goals? We're in the middle of the year now. Have you given up? Have you abandoned them entirely? Are you kind of halfway doing some of them? Let me know where you're at in the comments, and I'm hoping you're in a place where you're ready to begin again. I'm starting this 12-week year at the end of August on a random Monday. You don't have to wait until January. You don't have to wait for a whole new month. You can start your 12-week year whenever you want, and that's the beauty of it, because perfectionism will try to tell you that you gotta wait until January 1st, or insert whatever negative thought that the ops in our brain try to tell us to keep us stuck and not creating. We gotta quiet that noise, because we have big dreams we wanna accomplish. Because personally, I don't wanna live in a world full of AI creations. I wanna see real creators thriving and living their best lives. So let's get into the system that can help us do that. I give you the 12-week year, written by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. Highly recommend reading this book. I'm gonna give you the Sparks Notes version, but I highly recommend reading it. It's a quick read, and there's so many tidbits that help you get unstuck. I reread it every few 12-week years because I learned something new that I can apply every time I read it. The whole concept of a 12-week year is to reduce the complacency we sometimes get whenever we set our goals in January and give ourselves all the way till December to accomplish them. Creates more urgency because you're basically running 12-week sprints towards your goals. You have a big goal in mind, maybe a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year goal, and you're scaling that down into what you can reasonably accomplish in 12 weeks. You want it to be a little bit of a stretch goal, but not too much to where you're not gonna actually be able to win. You want to build confidence over time. I've been doing 12-week years since January 2024. This is my 9th 12-week year. I've taken some breaks in between, and I want to share my best practices so that you can avoid some of the fails and pitfalls I ran into along the way. Before you dive right into your 12-week year, we want to start with week 0, as I would call it. This is where you get the chance to dream and do a little bit of pre-planning to set yourself up for success. Now, there have been seasons where I love this step and seasons when I just didn't want to do it at all. If you've ever gone through a period of life where you just are not accomplishing the goals that you set, and maybe it's kind of hurt your confidence, hurt your self-trust, if you're not keeping commitments to yourself, it can be hard to even want to dream because you don't want to disappoint yourself. That's totally normal, and there have been all different types of things I've put on my 12-week year. It could be as simple as committing to walking and journaling. My first 12-week years, I was in the depths of my depression. That's all I could commit to, and that was more than enough. So you don't have to be too hard on yourself setting huge, lofty goals. It's okay to start small and build your way up. It's all about creating that forward momentum so that you can build your confidence over time and then eventually accomplish those bigger goals that you have set in the future. But as creatives, we don't just have to dream about, oh, I want this amount of money or this career goal. Really dream about what you want to create, what type of impact you want to leave on this world. How do you want to feel once you've accomplished it? You don't want your relationships to suffer in the process. So try to have a good balance. I usually pick one where it's health inside and out. So it's like my spiritual, my mental, my physical health. Creatively, I want to write my film, and then a community aspect. My community pillar is a mix of the content I create and the community I'm building online, as well as an in-person aspect, whether it's checking in with friends, spending time with friends in person, or volunteering with a nonprofit. Also in this week 0, I do recommend reading the actual book. Even if you're not able to finish it in that first week, it's helpful to just get a gist of what the process is all about. You're gonna glean some additional tidbits that you can apply and help you execute your goals a little bit better. Now, once you've dreamed for a bit, you're going to pick 2 to 3 goals to focus on. You do not want to pick more than 3. And I say this as a multi-passionate who can be all over the place, wanting to do everything at once, and then you end up doing nothing. We're not doing that anymore, okay? It doesn't work. We're focused on 2 to 3 max. Agreed.
I've been using Corey's free Notion template. I'm going to link her video below. She has a full tutorial on how to customize her template. Highly recommend it. I love the balance of the visuals she has in her template, as well as the tactical pieces that allow you to check things off your list each week and keep track of all your progress. Once you've selected your top 3 goals you're going to focus on, you can customize each of these photos and the goals 1 through 3. Below that, you're going to add your strategies or your tactics to accomplish each of your goals. So I have different things that I have for my health inside and out, different tactics for my creative goals, and different tactics for my community engagement goals. Then below in this purple section is where I'm going to track how I did each week. So I'll give a percentage out of 100%. And the goal is to hit 86% or more for each individual goal. One thing I did do on her template to customize it is I found a tutorial where you can add a reset button so you don't have to manually check and uncheck these every week. You can just hit the reset button. It clears it out after you've done your due diligence to track all of your numbers that week.
Now, I know how difficult it's probably gonna feel to just focus on 3 key pillars, but I promise you it's going to pay off in the long run. That little bit of discipline, focusing on the 2 or 3 things you are trying to accomplish in the 12 weeks, it's going to open you up in the future to be able to actually execute the creative ideas you come up with. Now, with that being said, my multi-passionates, I know how we get. The idea comes into our mind and now we're over here. So if that's you, I don't want this to feel like a rigid system where you're constricting your creativity. So it's okay to give yourself a little bit of flex time for new things that pop into your head. I just don't want you to lose sight over whatever project or creative focus area that you've set. Make sure you're still making that a priority week to week. There might be a week where you get off a little bit on a tangent, but as long as you come back to the original project that you have determined that you're gonna follow through on, as long as you don't totally abandon it and be going off the rails, it's okay to have that time to have a little bit of creative freedom. And also create a sort of system for yourself where you're capturing that idea and you maybe can come back to it in the future, but you don't want to lose that idea. So it's a little bit of a dance. I definitely don't do it perfectly, and I have a lot of unfinished projects that I'm trying to power through, but it's finding that balance, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't need to be rigid either. I don't want this to feel like it's suffocating any part of your creativity. It's meant to be a system that serves you so that you can actually follow through on the things that you really are excited about creating. And for me, what I found is when I felt the most chaotic and like I'm going in a million different directions, it's because I hadn't quite found the connected thread of how DIY connected with acting, connected with writing. And once I saw, oh, okay, I can create the set, DIY, I have my acting training, I'm continuing to improve that and work on that in classes. And then now I'm layering in the writing, so once I create a little short film or whatever I want to make, now I have the set to create that in. And so I'm kind of scaling it down. I have a very big vision of what I want to do one day, but I'm able to see how I can execute with the things that I have access to now, and not making it such a big thing where I can't make any progress until it's this big, perfect, big budget, big everything. I can act on what I have access to and what skill sets I have at my disposal now. And then in terms of picking a good stretch goal, you want to take stock of what you've been doing currently and how you can push yourself a little bit further. For example, I've been really consistent with my walking. I walk almost 5 miles every day. I'm getting my 10K steps, but I haven't actually exercised at all this year, I don't think, unless you count hauling 2x4s, which kind of is lifting, but so now this 12-week year, I'm layering in 3 times a week, at least 20 minutes of strength training. So I'm just kind of stair-stepping my way up. I don't want to go too extreme and start doing CrossFit or something, because then I'm gonna tap out and then I'll be doing nothing, or I'm gonna be hurt or something. So you want to just stair step your way up so that you're pushing yourself a little bit past your limit, building that confidence in yourself, building that trust in yourself that you know you're gonna follow through, and then you can kind of increase the intensity or the difficulty over time or in the next 12-week year. Once you have your 2 to 3 goals set, now you're going to select tactics to actually accomplish these goals. That's going to go underneath each goal. For example, I'm in that race to 4K watch hours for YouTube before they change the rules in February, where you got to get 8,000 hours of watch time to get monetized. So I'm increasing my upload schedule from 2 times a month to 4 times a month. I'm pushing, y'all. My perfectionism is raging. It wants every upload to be perfectly edited. The goal today is to get this video up the same day I'm filming it. We're about to see how it's 6:36. So we're about to see how that goes. So my perfectionism, it's got to take a back seat in this 12-week year. We got things to do, okay? Now your tactics, when you're starting out, it's all a theory. There may be certain things you kind of know that work for you. It might be a little bit of an experiment. Well, every week you're gonna review how things went, and over time you can adjust those tactics if something's not working, if it's just not working for your learning style, how your brain works, whatever it is, you can make adjustments. It's just about getting you into action, and each week you'll kind of review what worked and what didn't, and you can always make adjustments. You don't have to be married to the tactics, but you wanna just have something starting out. It's all about your inputs. We can't always control what the outcome is gonna be, especially as creatives. You don't know if you're gonna get however many subscribers by the end or however many paintings sold by the end, but you know what your inputs can be, and you know the process you need to go through to get that painting completed. And so it's all about focusing on what you need to do to reach your goal, and then the outcomes are kind of out of our control. We're just doing everything we can that's within our control and focusing on that. Now, once you have your Notion fully filled out, we gotta move that to the calendar, because for me, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. I do my time blocking. I have pink for creative, like writing time, orange for my editing or DIY project time. Green is for appointments. That's gonna send me an email reminder to make sure I don't miss anything. And one thing I'm implementing this time, because working out has been difficult to stick with for me, is I am setting an appointment for my workouts, and I'm putting in the YouTube workout that I'm gonna do that day. So I don't have to think about it. It's planned that Sunday before, and all I gotta do is show up, click on the video, and get that work in. Here's some extra things you can add to your Notion. I'm trying out some new things just for some added motivation this time, because I'm tired of not reaching my health goals. It's ridiculous at this point. I added some mood boards for each pillar that I have, just to give me a little bit of spark. I love a visual, gets me going. So I have that right there. I don't have to go to Pinterest or anywhere else. It's all in one place. And then I also have a section where I added a little bit of when you're discouraged, coming back to that why, what's life gonna be like after I accomplish this goal, and taking me back to that mindset. Because when you're in the trenches and you wanna give up, sometimes a mood board isn't gonna be enough. So always finding those tactics over time about who you can call, who's gonna give you that encouragement, that little bit of boost to keep going when it feels like things are not ever gonna pay off, because that is a hard place to be. And there's so much in the creative journey where it just feels like you're slept on, things are not gonna pan out how you hope, or you feel like you're working so much harder and the return is not returning, okay? I think we should have our own little community here to encourage each other. Whoever wants to join me on this 12-week year journey, we can be encouraging each other in the comments along the way, because I know I always need that encouragement, and I love being able to encourage y'all on whatever y'all are creating too. Now we are ready to execute. And this kind of, if you do all the prep work up front, all you gotta do is show up and do the work, which I love that. My brain is tired. I got a lot of decision fatigue. I don't wanna think about what I need to do. I just wanna do it. I almost want someone else to tell me to do it. Me in the past telling me right now what I need to do, and I could just checking off the boxes. Let me tell you something. That is the best feeling. One thing I did do to her template is I figured out a way to add this little reset button. So at the end of the week, once you've tracked everything, you've done all your numbers, you just hit reset. It's a clean slate. You get to do it all over again in the next week. I also added a little reflection section. Sometimes anecdotally, it helps to kind of give myself some context of what else was going on. Sometimes it's a really hard work week. Maybe something in your personal life went down and you need to give yourself some context of like why the numbers were the way they were. And then from there, you can kind of build a little bit more resilience and say, okay, if something like this happens in my week that derails me, how can I still make a little bit of progress so I'm not getting too far behind week to week? And what are those adjustments you can make? And some things, life happens, okay? Like I've had a lot of weeks, 25% success, okay? But it's better than zero. And so you're still moving forward. It's information, you're learning, and just keep getting a little bit better each week. Now, this is a step I personally sometimes do not like as a perfectionist. Like I said, when I get those 25% weeks, you start thinking, you know what? Maybe I don't want to track this. Maybe I don't want to know. Maybe I want to put my head in the sand and just act like everything is fine. And I can tell you from experience, not a good strategy, because your health eventually will catch up with you. And that 25% doesn't feel so good. Let me tell you that. Okay, what we don't measure, we can't improve. So it's information. It doesn't mean we need to beat ourselves up about how bad the week was, how bad multiple weeks were. It's information. We can use that to get a little bit better each week. And if you're repeatedly having like really low scores, you might need to look at, okay, maybe I stretched a little too far on the goal. That's something to think about. But just get a little better each time. You do not need to be making yourself feel bad if you had an off week. The goal is to hit 86% or more for each category. That's kind of like the standard that the book has set for you. If you can get higher, amazing. And the next step, we'll kind of get into this, but when you have that accountability and that encouragement, it's gonna help you keep going if you do have an off week, because like I said, I got to the point where I just stopped tracking my eating, my workouts, everything, because I was just like tired of seeing that 25%, success. And that's the place you don't want to get to, because when it comes to your health, it's not just about, oh, I want to look snatched, I want to, fit in this outfit. I'm now 35, and so I had high cholesterol at one point, and so it's really nothing we need to be playing with. Yes, we want to be successful. We want all our creative dreams to come true. But for me, I have let my health suffer because I'm trying to accomplish so many things at once. And it's just, that's not the healthiest way to go about living. And so I'm really committing to my health this time around and making sure my relationships aren't suffering because I'm trying to meet some creative goal in life. Step 5 is accountability. And for a while I had a really good group. We would meet like bi-weekly and just check in on our goals, and it was just all entrepreneurial minded women, creative women, and it was so encouraging. And we've all gotten so busy. So this time around I'm thinking about doing like a weekly short form vlog so we can connect over there in the comments and encourage each other. Or maybe we can even do a live. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are, what would be the most helpful to stay encouraged along the journey. I'm thinking of doing a mix of like the short and the long form vlogs, depending on if I feel like there's enough to really share for a long form, but it's all kind of in the moment because I literally had this idea this morning and I'm trying to get it posted the same day, which is new for me. So I'm pushing myself a little bit out of my comfort zone, trying to hit that 4K, honey, and we're trying to make it. I want all, matter of fact, if you are a creator, a small creator trying to hit the 4K watch hours, let me know in the comments what your channel's about. Let me check it out. I will go give you some of those watch hours because I want to see all the small creators make it. Like, it just feels like so many of the people that are like blowing up on YouTube are like teaching you how to blow up on YouTube. It's like, there's so many creative things that people are doing and I want y'all to be shining. I want y'all to have your flowers. So let me know how I can support y'all in the comments. Step 6 is important. Another one I have neglected. 9 times a charm, but celebration is key because you work really hard and then you don't even take time to celebrate. Hello? Perfectionism, get out of here. We've had enough of that. So this time I have been very detailed about the ways I'm going to celebrate for each individual goal, each category, so that let's say one, I don't make the goal, whatever it is. We're gonna celebrate the other 2, believe that, have that to look forward to. That's what we need. And the other thing is rest. I know some people go 12-week year to 12-week year. Personally, for me, especially with my perfectionism, that's just not viable. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. I like to take a week or 2 or even 3 weeks off in between. It's important to have that downtime to really reflect on how things went in the past, to think about how you might want to do the next one differently, and just to give your brain a break of like being in that high productivity mode. You don't want your whole 365 days, you know, in that mode where you're like on. You want to have some time to reflect, to dream again, to think about what you might want to do differently, what you might want to create in the future. And so I would mix in my celebration with that time to just like, not to say you're not going to be doing anything towards your goals, but to be in that high achieving mode. It's kind of nice to like give yourself a second between each 12-week year. So I hope this video is helpful in helping you craft a system to actually execute your creative goals, to get you focused, to get you excited again, inspired. And it's just meant to give you a guide for whatever you're trying to create. I don't want it to ever feel constricting. My calendar is color-coded, but let me tell you, those blocks move all around because my schedule is very unpredictable. Just a visual way of helping me see that this is a priority. I might have to shift it a little bit, but I'm going to commit to that time to create and also get my, the job that pays me, that work done as well. So let me know if you want to join me on this 12-week year journey. I would love to see what you're creating, the goals that you're going after, so I can be encouraging you, so I can be cheering you on and your channel, whatever you're creating, or even if you have a small business, let me know. Always want to shout out the real makers, because without us, they're just gonna have AI slop, and that's just lame. I don't want to see a world like that. So we gotta get it together. We gotta lock in on our goals. I want to see all of us win, and I can't wait to encourage y'all on y'all's journeys. I am confident. I believe you're gonna have inspiring, creative results. I can't wait to see what we create in the process, honey. Bye. See you in the next video.